Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Jonathan Mickey, I'm the college president, so I just wanted to welcome everybody to this event and hand over to the organizer, Mary Heneghan, a very good friend of the college, who's organised and is going to be running the event. So thank you very much, Mary.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you for extending the invitation this afternoon to Ringu Tulku Rinpoche to come and spend a bit of time talking with us all. I need to introduce him for those of you who don't know him. So Ringu Tulku is a High Lama or teacher from the Kagyu lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. And Kagyu lineage, sometimes called the lineage of meaning and blessing, or the oral lineage. So it's kind of alluding to the importance of the person-to-person transmission of the Buddha's teachings and the experience and realization of them. So when I was looking up dates, I was quite interested to notice that the Kagyu lineage dates back, like the forefathers of the Kagyu lineage, date back to the 11th century. And also then I was thinking, because of the context of being here in the University of Oxford, I was looking at the start date of the university, and I noticed that there's no exact start date for the University of Oxford, but there is evidence that there was teaching in Oxford from the 11th century at least. So it's kind of like the same time span, which I just thought was really I don't know, it just kind of, I noticed that. And then give you some more information. Rinpoche, so he's received a lot of training from all the great masters of this lineage, the Kagyu lineage, but also the other lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. And so he holds a lot of the teachings, and then, but the thing is that what he's been doing is for the last 3 decades or so, he's been traveling through the West and coming to visit Europe, many European countries, America, Canada, Australia, Asia, actually throughout the world, teaching at universities, institutes, Buddhist centres, small groups, individual students, meeting many people. And I think you once described yourself as always a student. I know you've always been really interested to learn from all the people that you've been meeting. So I think we also will benefit from that. So I think I better launch into the questions because we don't have so long. We have this time. Thank you so much for making time to be with us this afternoon, Rinpoche.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So I've been talking with some of people here in Oxford to try and get some questions that will be pertinent to everyone. And the first one came out of a conversation with my husband, Carl. We were talking about the state of the world, as you do. We were talking about the conflict and wars in the world, the situation of like a lot of people being displaced, whether that's as a result of the conflict or persecution. There seem to be so many stories of that these days. And then also like through maybe like the internet and social media is a wonderful facility, but sometimes it also seems to be breeding a kind of alienation or separation, and sometimes like a combative kind of even hate campaigns, so like that kind of discord. And then we've had these COVID years where there's been that enforced isolation, and maybe we're still suffering from a bit of a kind of polarization. In the context of all this, we wanted to ask how what the Buddhist teachings can offer us in terms of guidance as to how to live in harmony with each other, how to live and work in harmony, really.
I think first of all, I must say, I'm not a high Lama at all. I'm the lowest of the low Lamas. And I'm invited to many places to talk about Buddhism mainly, and Buddhist practices like meditation. Just because I speak a little language, a little Tibetan English, so that's why it's easier for people to understand. Of course, harmony is very important, as you all know. If there is no harmony, then it doesn't work. If the elements in our body is not in harmony, we become sick. And when it becomes less and less in harmony, we could even die. Same is the case, I think, in everything, whether it's a society, whether it's a family, or in our emotion, and also how we deal with each other, how we work together. If there is no harmony, then it doesn't work, because everything works kind of with many different elements together. There is nothing which is only one thing, or one thing works and everything works. Every part has to work. Every part has to work in a good way, in a healthy way. So therefore, harmony is very essential in kind of every field, every situation. How to bring that harmony, of course, is not always easy. But I've been a little bit involved in like interreligious dialogues and things like that. And once I was in Banaras, in Varanasi, Sarnath, where one of the Buddhist important place, and was just roaming around a big stupa, and someone was there, and I think he just trying to kind of challenge me a little bit. He said, "Oh, you people from religion, you are so bad. There are so many religions, and you have been fighting each other all the time. And if there was only one religion, it would be so good." And then I also wanted to kind of, a little bit debate with him. Although, this is something in Tibetan Buddhism especially, we have lots of debate. We try to learn through debate, not just to kind of defeat each other, but mainly to explore, different ideas and different, that give our reasoning and things like that to each other, and try to, find and investigate from different points of view. But this is, maybe I'm going a little bit another way, but I had to understand in a hard way that you cannot really convince anybody with just debating. The people has to be wanting to, to understand or to learn. And then if people really want to learn, then you can talk and you can maybe convince somebody. But as long as they want to, however good your logics are, you cannot convince anybody. I had to learn it. So therefore, I was just saying at that time that, it's not just, if there was only one religion also, it would not necessarily mean that there will be, harmony, because there could be, this kind of school or that school or this section or another section, because even if you have one college, you can have different houses or different, sections and things like that. And even one family, you can have father's side and mother's side and things like that. So it's not just by one. And if there's nothing, then I and other. So there's always, if there's two, you can have conflict. But the main thing is that you both, or different sides want to work together, with some understanding, to understand each other, and with certain humility and certain, a kind of a sense of respect and understanding towards each other. Only that can become harmony. And if that harmony is there, then even if there are lots of different things, it doesn't really matter, because there's always difference of opinions, and you can't have just one type of thing, and everybody cannot have same opinions. And actually, it's not even good if there's only one thing. There are many different ways, there are many methods, there are different interests, and people are also not always the same. So therefore, different things can be very useful. But only thing is that we need to accept that. We need to know and understand that these different things are okay, because these different paths or different methods or different are for, if it suits and if it works on different people, that's very good. I can explain, I can accept that, and I can respect that. Then there will be harmony. So therefore, I think the harmony is respecting each other and understanding each other, and then having an open mind to be able to accommodate and have some kind of a tolerance of differences. And if that is there, then I think there can be, harmony. And of course, this harmony is a very big subject, I think, because it's and it's the most important thing. I think it's the most important thing, because if there is no harmony, then nothing works, whether it's a society, whether it's, your own body, or even your mind. If you don't have harmony within your own kind of things, then you go not very healthy. So that's, I think, the main understanding. And I think this is what Buddhism also tries to teach, to bring harmony in any different things. Buddha always said that that many different things, many different paths are not bad. It's good because people are not all same, so they need different approaches, different paths, different methods. So therefore, that's nothing wrong. But we need. It's not that I have to follow them and I have to I have to myself kind of follow and practice all of them. But some things that is suitable for me, that I can follow. But some things that is suitable to somebody else and it helps them, I should have no problem that they exist and they have their own, and not only I should kind of not accept them, but I should also be able to respect that and also help to preserve and maintain that. So this is kind of a understanding from Buddhist point of view.
Thank you. I enjoyed that. I wonder if this kind of fits in with what you've just been saying. There was a beautiful a tweet from His Holiness Dalai Lama last month, which I noticed, and the tweet was education should include training in how to be calm and unafraid, since scientists now recognize the significance of warm-heartedness and peace of mind in personal and social well-being. It's time training to cultivate such qualities was included in the general education system. Do you think that might be part of the kind of the fostering of this harmony? Do you have any further thoughts?
Education education is I think from yes, of course, I mean education is to try to what we call develop our wisdom from Buddhist point of view, wisdom, and that means try to understand the information, the details, and also the nature of things. And once you have the knowledge and the wisdom, knowledge is to know the details, like how things are made, what are the different causes and conditions, and the details, information about things. But wisdom is regarded as more important, because then you have an idea, understanding, and experience how to solve problems, how to whatever situation you are in, how you can deal with that situation, whatever kind of what is the best way to solve or to make the understanding situation in the most positive way, and resolve all your the causes and conditions of your problems. To have that understanding is wisdom, and so therefore the wisdom can happen only not just through knowledge, but you need to have kind of a deeper understanding of how people's kind of emotions and how your own, way of dealing with situations happen. And when you have a little bit of experience of that, then one becomes more, more ready to deal with and to face anything in the world, any situations, and you can have you can learn. I mean, to learn different things is relatively easy. That's information, but that you have the capacity to become okay in any situation. There's a saying that the best kind of education is that if you have to be a servant, you are able to serve hundreds of people the right way. If you have to become a leader, that you are able to lead thousands of people in the right way. If you become like that, then you are educated. So therefore, it's to bring, because when you have that kind of understanding or inner kind of wisdom, then you are able to deal with situations and peoples and relationships, but you are also able to deal with your own emotions and state of mind and things like that. So when these two together is developed, then it's kind of education and educated. So therefore, education is kind of learning about things, but also learning, more nature, more yourself, about yourself, and how to deal with things within your experience. So these two together, from Buddhist point of view, becomes education. So therefore, when you have certain level of education, good education, you don't need to be so afraid. You can be more courageous. You can be more kind. You can be more compassionate, and you can be more wise. So when that happens, then it's a kind of a true education, I think.
I don't know if there's anything more to be said there about the aspect of being a good leader, because it was something I was talking with Jonathan about how Kellogg College is a graduate college, so a lot of the students here are already in positions of leadership in different ways, and of course it might fall to any of us to need to lead in small ways or big ways. And so you've met a lot of people who need to lead and had your own experience. Is there anything from that you could share with us about about leadership and about how to lead well, how to take that role on well?
Well, you can say lots of things about that, but I have always found that people who are really good leaders are kind of very, very interested in the people, what they think and what they want, and it's not somebody who kind of imposes his or her ideas only on them, but want to really learn and become one of them, not just kind of up there and giving orders, but really work together. I found there's people who are really working together and can bring people together and inspire them to work together in a harmonious way is, I think, a real good leader.
I don't know if there's anything more to be said also about the aspect of wisdom. I know you already spoke a bit about wisdom, and obviously a lot of the Buddhist teachings are concerned with developing that wisdom. And my understanding is that sometimes it's talked about, it can be talked about in different ways and at kind of different levels, and sometimes that might be like the relative level, which I guess is what you were talking a bit about, sort of how to deal with our lives, the wisdom of that, how to meet situations. And then there's also a more sort of ultimate or absolute level at which wisdom is talked about in the Buddhist teachings. And I was wanting to ask about how that, the sort of deeper understanding of how things really exist in a way, how that can inform our lives and maybe help with this idea of, living more harmoniously. How does the relationship between the two, how does it feed in?
Yes, I think from Buddhist point of view, we talk about, you can say 2 levels of wisdom. One is the kind of worldly wisdom, and another is sometimes called transcendental wisdom. And worldly wisdom is, different kind of knowledges, like if about health, for instance, about all this kind of that most of the people try to learn about science, about how best to to understand and to run and to work in the society, and things like that. All these are usually called worldly wisdom. This also includes, that we have to be understanding, kind, compassion to each other, and all these things, whatever is necessary that the society or individual can, relationships, all these things, how to make it in a wise way, in a positive way. These are called, the worldly wisdom. Transcendental wisdom is, from Buddhist point of view, it's very important because that is, say like, from Buddhist point of view, the if you want to look into the kind of the basic causes, deeper causes of our suffering and problems in life, then it's mainly, our negative emotions, like anger, hatred, that kind of a group of emotions. Then, too much greed and too much, attachment or craving, that kind of group. Then too much envy and jealousy, those kind of group. Too much arrogance and too much negative pride, that kind of group. And then, ignorance, not understanding things, misunderstanding, that kind of group. So these 5 mainly kind of negative states of mind is regarded as the main cause of suffering and problems as individuals in ourselves, or in the society. Like if you, try to get an example. So, we have wars. And if you look into the, history of humankind, the history of humankind is almost, all the way through the history of wars. When there are wars, then everybody suffers. People kill each other, people torture each other, conflicts, all kind of suffering and pain to each other. And it brings so much suffering and pain. Why do we have wars? If we look a little bit deeply, we can understand without, much, without any problem actually, that these wars happen because of our hatred and anger. These wars happen because of greed. These wars happen because of jealousy. These wars happen because of misunderstanding, and arrogance. All of them or some of them is mainly creating the wars. And not only wars, but even, any kind of a conflict, whether it's within our own kind of society or family, or even within ourselves individually. All kind of disturbances inside our mind and ourselves is caused by either some of them or all of them. So therefore, from Buddhist point of view, unless we find a way to deal with this, transform them, we cannot find a lasting peace, lasting happiness, a lasting solution to our suffering and pain and problems. So that's why, when people talk about practicing Dhamma in a very deep way, like to become enlightened and things like that, we are talking about that. It's to deeply, completely uproot these causes of suffering. And for that, of course, that mainly, the opposite of these negative states of mind is two. One is compassion and the other is wisdom. Here this wisdom is transcendental wisdom. Compassion is, like anger and hatred. What is the opposite? Compassion and kindness. Also, like too much greed and craving, opposite is also kindness, compassion. Too much envy and jealousy also, the opposite of kindness and compassion. Too much arrogance also, and pride and arrogance, also the opposite of kindness, compassion. So compassion, the real genuine kindness and compassion is very, very important solution, because if we can be kind to each other, everybody can be really kind to each other, then all these lots of problems will be solved, and also that sometimes we feel that this is not possible, because how can all the people be kind and compassionate to each other? But if you look a little bit deeply, there's nobody who doesn't want that everybody is kind to you. We all wish that everybody treat me kindly and compassionately. Not only that, but we also, if I can feel kind and compassionate myself, I feel good, I feel happier, I feel more joyful than I feel if I feel, anger and hatred. And when anger, hatred, all the negative things, if I experience, I feel disturbed. But I feel kind and compassion, I feel joyful and happy and satisfied. So if all of us are like that, why is this so difficult that we cannot be compassionate and kind to each other? And that is also one main reason is because of ignorance, that we don't even dare to believe that this is possible. Although we know that that would be very good, but we can't even dare to feel that this is something possible. Because if this is possible, then there will be no war, there will be no atrocities, there will be no conflicts, immediately, like from tomorrow, if everybody starts with this. So this is that important. So therefore, compassion becomes a very important thing in Buddhism, and I think for everybody. And I don't think there is any religion or spiritual path who does not campaign or who does not teach compassion and loving kindness. That's one of the things which I think the most important thing, at least from Buddhist point of view. But in order to really, kind of real complete compassion and to uproot our negative emotions and negative state of mind, then just kind of worldly kind of compassion cannot totally can reduce these negative emotions and can become, but unless we can develop the transcendental kind of wisdom, it cannot totally uproot it. That's the Buddhist way of saying. Because as long as we have this thing that I am, I exist, and others are there. I am like this, and others are there. I like, I whatever. These are me, and mine. These are others and theirs. When I have this kind of notion very strongly, then what I see there, others, something nice, then I want. Something not nice, I don't want. So I have, attachment and aversion. So something nice, I want to get it, so I run after that. Something not nice, I want to get rid of it, so I try to, run away from there. And as long as that way of, action or reaction in me is there, then all these emotions come up. And so anger, hatred, all kind of things come up. So if we have to eliminate these, then I have to, from Buddhist point of view, really understand, deeply how I am, how I am, how I exist, and how everything exists. And that is not necessarily easy. So therefore, there's lots of kind of teachings and reflections and meditations and things like that, to try to understand the nature of everything, the nature of the phenomena, nature of self, myself. And there then we try to, understand the interdependence or dependent arising, that, everything is, to try to talk about in a very kind of a quick way without going through different levels, that everything that we can think about is not kind of an entity that's totally just one and existing on its own. It's a totally dependently existing thing, relatively existing thing. It's not, totally, completely, truly existing on its own thing. For instance, everything is changing. Nothing remains the same. Everything changes. And why everything changes? Because they're not just one thing. Everything is made of so many parts, so many causes, so many conditions. And all these conditions and, causes and parts keep on changing. And me too, each of us, are we the same one that we were born? We think I'm the same person when I was born, but am I really the same one? It keeps on changing. So even my mother wouldn't recognize me now. If so, therefore, why it is like that? Because it's, it doesn't really remain the same. Everything keeps on changing. Like, for instance, one scientist told me that every cell in your body is replaced after every, 7 years or 9 years, something like that. So after each 9 years or 7 years, there's not even one cell left that you had before. So I've changed like I don't know how many times, 10 times. So things like that. So therefore, interdependence. This is called, from Buddhist point of view, interdependence. And everything is interdependent. And so therefore, if we understand interdependence is sometimes described in Buddhism as emptiness. Because, if you look deeply, there's nothing truly existing, anything as one. And so, me too. So when I see myself as not something like me and very kind of, totally identify as something me strongly too much, but I'm also a changing thing. I'm also like a process. I'm also like a river. River is, you look at a river and we think that that's the same river that's 100 years old, or many hundreds of. But if you look deeply, the river is a flowing, bug of water. And even, 5 minutes ago, the river is not the same. It's all the water that was there a minute ago is not there anymore. But we think it's the same one. So therefore, if we understand this deeply, then our self-centeredness, that this is me, this is, this can be deeply, changed. We see things, we see myself. And when we see that very clearly, then there is no need to, who is upset for what, and who is, hating what. There's, it's completely, different experience. And through that kind of wisdom, through that kind of experience, we can have a totally different way of seeing ourselves and seeing all the phenomena, and that can completely uproot our our sense of self, our sense of looking at ourselves and our sense of looking at others, and that completely widens our kind of a way of looking at the whole phenomena. And that way then we can be totally kind and compassionate without holding on to any special thing, and that way then the ultimate kind of wisdom can arise, and that from Buddhist point of view is called enlightenment, Buddhahood. And so therefore, if even if we cannot totally kind of accomplish that, at least when we see all this kind of how changing, how dependent, how interdependent things are, that will make us a little bit more kind of able to be more less greedy, less selfish, more kind of kind and compassionate, and all these things. And that could also in a deep way might be able to solve our problems of ecological problems and all kind of these problems that we have created in the world. These also basically comes from this kind of problems. So therefore, this is understood to be, but that is, this is a different level, little bit, there's two levels of, that's the Buddhist way of wisdom.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So I'd like to open up the conversation so that other people can ask some questions. David, would you like to ask your question? Or do you feel ready? There's a microphone coming for you.
On the spot. Rinpoche, you've actually talked a lot about kind of the thing I wanted to ask about, where you've talked about transcendental wisdom and particularly maybe our sense of everyday self, the thing that has thoughts and emotions and wants things and doesn't want things, and the ignorance of identifying with that is the cause of a lot of our problems. Actually, I was thinking last night, a great master, Trungpa Rinpoche, has died very, very recently. We were saying prayers for him. And we, sort of two aspects of the prayers were lamenting what had died. I think one of the lines is, we miss you, we want you. And also asking for him to come back. So there's kind of two things there. There's what I call a bit of the everyday self that we miss, and the more transcendental self, which is perhaps greater than us. And originally I wanted to ask the relationship between the two, but to some extent you've covered that. But really I wonder, for someone like that or for someone like us, what is it that dies, and maybe what is it that doesn't die? Is there any aspect of that transcendental stuff that is kind of always there? And it's not just our body that dies, but even for someone like that, I suspect, there's the essence of who we feel they were in the world. So I don't know if that's clear enough a question, or it's just a bit too confused, but what dies and what doesn't die?
I think it's like this. Everything changes. That we can actually see. Everything changes, and so even a very highly realized person, like including Buddhas and Jesus and everybody, also died and passed away. So this is, this is a fact. So we need to understand that everything. So when we die, means like it's a changing thing. But even when we are not dying, but we are living, it's also changing. No, like it's not that we don't have to die to change. We change all the time. Every moment. Say like in our body, I don't know how many millions of cells are dying every day, and how many, is growing, and so it's all a process of changing. It's a process of changing. It's not only at the time of death, but all the time. But when we die, then we say it's a death because it's something much more kind of obvious and strong and things like that. Of course, when somebody dies, then we feel if that person is somebody very very loving or very kind or something that is valuable, then we feel sad and we miss them and we don't want, but we want them to be with us and things like that. And also very positive beings, if there are more, if there are more of them are there among us, it will be better for all of us. So we pray that those positive beings, great beings, good beings live longer or stay with us longer time. This is. But if you look deeply, when we deeply understand it, and when that ultimate wisdom way, if you really see clearly that both birth and death and living are in the same way, it is this, the death is kind of relatively dying, but truly what is it that's dying? If it doesn't really exist completely in its own way, then you can't say it's dying. So therefore, this is something that is, from Buddhist point of view. If somebody has that wisdom, now again I have to say this, this the wisdom is not something that it's not that it's something different that we have. Wisdom is to understand the way things actually are. It's not something that there's a different thing happening for different people. Same thing is happening, but how we see this, how we, whether we actually, what can you say, perceive, how we perceive. If we perceive things as they really are, then we have wisdom. If we don't perceive things as they are, then we have ignorance. So therefore, when we actually very clearly, experientially perceive things as they are, then actually in a way they are free from death. And so therefore, you just, that person who have that wisdom, it's just, it's just another change. It's nothing called death. So therefore, that's why it is said, it's experienced like this, that even people die, it's nothing problem, you don't really matter, But as long as we have not that experience, then we are, afraid of death. We don't like dying. When somebody dies, we feel very sad and things like that. So all our suffering problem is there. So it's that's why wisdom kind of this ultimate kind of wisdom becomes very important, because with that then you truly understand very deeply how things are. And when that time, maybe there's nothing called death. But till then, there's called death. And then, we have all the problems that we have.
Maybe Fiona?
Yes.
Rinpoche, you touched on this just at the end of what you were saying before answering David's question. Mine is about the ecological emergency we're facing. In 2021, the then UN General Secretary Antonio Guterres summarized the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report as Code Red for Humanity.
What?
Code Red for Humanity. In other words, many, not only human beings, but many life forms are currently threatened by climate change. How do you respond to this existential threat as a Buddhist?
Well, this is, this kind of, it's a, first, I think, Buddhists always talk about impermanence, and impermanence, and trying to, we try to actually meditate on impermanence and understand deeply about the impermanence. And it's felt that if we really understand impermanence very deeply, we wouldn't become so much greedy, and we would be, able to be a little bit more kind of contented, and be able to live not so much, just wanting more and more and more, but enjoying more and more and more about what we have. The contentment is that. So these kind of problems of the is basically happening, I think, because I'm told by the scientists themselves that it's over exploiting our earth and the resources and things like that. And because of the modern technology, we can do it much more effectively. So therefore now we are trying to almost at the verge of destroying our kind of home, earth. And we human beings and all other animals, and then the relationship with ourselves and our earth, the relationship of container and content. We are the content, and then the earth is the container. And if there is no container, we can't have content. Like if I break this glass, then the water in that cannot be there, and it will spill out. That, I think, if we understand deeply, then maybe we will change a little bit how we do things. But now they say that we are almost too late, and this is a problem also. I've been attending some of these conferences on climate change and all these environmental issues, and I was attending one actually last year, a big one, and then there were lots of scientists who were presenting all the all the, what you can say, all the datas and things like that. And then it is, many people were actually getting more depressed because it's kind of there was a sense of hopelessness, and so if there's nothing you can do and it brings so much hopelessness, then what's the use of having a conference on this? It kind of also was felt by some people. And that time, then they told me that, can't you say something to give a little bit of encouragement to the people, some positive side to it. I don't know what to say anyway. The situation is like that, and like many scientists also said, one great scientist from Oxford University, I've heard or I have read, said that before he thought that this problem is a scientific problem. So therefore, it is something that scientists can kind of address and solve. But then he found that it's not something that scientists can solve, because it involves all the human beings. It's more, it has to be, everybody has to be involved, and especially the kind of spiritual and religious and those who. So everybody needs to be involved in this. So that's, so this is like that. So it's true. It's something, a problem, serious problem. I don't know if it is too late or not, but, and it's also very difficult because, it's very difficult to go back, there are lots of, developing countries, and there are lots of developed countries who kind of, because of their, kind of the economical development comes from exploitation of the resources. And then those who are not so developed, they said that we don't want to, stop developing because of what we have done to destroy it. So there's always this kind of things. And so I was thinking, that how is it, if it is possible to do something? And what I thought was that, yes, it's a problem. And it's something that we need to recognize, we need to understand, and we need to do something. But I thought that just, sometimes I see that people are too, what can you say, too shocked by this, too sensitive about, too angry and upset, and, like feeling very hopeless. I've even heard young people say that, I don't want to live anymore because there's no future, and so therefore I don't want to do anything. Kind of, very hopeless sense is also happening because of this. So if that is happening, then I think it's not a very good thing. It doesn't help. It doesn't help to change things. And maybe this is, I don't know whether it's right or wrong to say, but I think it can't be hopeless. I think there could be some solution. There could be some solution because everything is interdependent. Interdependent means, it's everything is like even our environment. is like this because of not just one thing, but many causes and conditions. Yeah. So therefore, when it is an interdependent thing, then if we can take one thing out, even if it's a kind of seemingly small thing, it could actually change everything because it's interdependent. Or we can put in one thing which was not there. It could also change everything. This happens. This happened many times in many different ways. Many things that we thought was not possible to change, changed very quickly, because some element came in, and very strong element came in. So this is also probably can happen, can happen. Maybe I'm totally stupid, but I personally thought that this problem was created mainly by the scientists and technology, because if that, this advancement was not there, we wouldn't have done that so quickly. Now I think it's the scientist who has to fix it. I think they can, you have to find something, that would, that would change this process with a, very intelligent way. And if they can produce, so many, like miracle-like things, why can't they also produce some solution to this? Just that the most brilliant minds have to be focused on this, and then maybe, I just, heard, I don't know, there was a newspaper which was actually right or wrong, I don't know. These days there are news and, things like that, so many things which are totally, wrong. I thought I heard that somebody invented something, kind of a, some kind of a something that could actually eat up all the, plastic things, and then so if we can, that could be, because plastics is something which is polluting a lot, and if you can do that on the plastics, maybe you can do on other things also, and so things like that, I think it's not impossible, so instead of getting frustrated and getting hopeless and things like that, why people not try to, instead of making weapons and of mass destruction and all kind of those things, if best minds are employed on trying to solve these problems, probably it's possible to change. But at the same time, we need to change our own, way of living. That's like not just only greed and wanting more and more, but learn to live harmoniously, contentedly, kindly towards each other, and working together. I think it's also very important, working together. If we can become more like that, most probably things can change, because it's not not totally impossible not to change. Yeah, and from Buddhist point of view, I've seen lots of, there are lots of predictions also. And they talk about 5 degenerations and things like that, and things are degenerating, but mainly the degeneration is because of our way of seeing things, the people's way of our negative emotions become too raw and too strong. Our self-centeredness becomes too much, and then we don't become, we are less responsible. We become no moral kind of way of living. So all these kind of negative states of mind becomes because of that. And there it is said that if we all became like our bodhicitta, or compassion really increased, or people together worked on that, it can change. It said there can be many loops of like what they call golden age, and that can be created by us, by the people in the world. It's not about the time, it's just ourselves. If we really want and really try and really work on it, there can be golden age anytime. So this is from Buddhist point of view, actually this is mainly the idea.
That is so lovely to hear. I think we've just got time for maybe one more question. Jonathan, did you want to ask your question?
Yeah, I just like your point about the lineage, the 900 years of history of what you've been talking about in the 900 years that our university's been here. But there's and I should explain that this college isn't 900 years old, but we will be. But there was another lineage. I know that you started your touring and teaching and learning around 1990, 33
Yes.
years ago, which was exactly the same time as we started this college to do
Okay.
exactly the same thing. So I
Thank
was
you.
wondering and I think we've learned some things about how you can best learn and teach. We're the university's most diverse college, the most international college, and the most interdisciplinary college, because we think it's the best way in which people to learn from people from other countries and cultures, from other disciplines and from other backgrounds and mindsets. But I was wondering what you've learned over the last 33 years in your traveling and learning and teaching. Particularly interested in what might be of use to us, but I'm sure everything you've learned will be of use to us. So yeah, I'm interested to know what you think you've learned over that 33 years.
Yeah, I mean, what I've learned in 30 years. What I've learned in 70 years first. Not that much, I think. I learned that I have a lot more to learn. Yeah, this is something is very clear, because you can never learn enough, and every day, every time you meet somebody, everywhere you go, you learn something new. It's not something that you can count, or you can. It's I think the life is about learning. You can never stop learning. I think that's one important lesson that I've learned, that you can never be anything but a student, all the time. And when you stop learning, then you finish your life. So I see it like that. And I've learned a lot. And I'm still hoping to learn more. And this event itself is a learning process, and I've met you. I met lots of other people here, and I've come to this wonderful place. That's lots of learning. And I also learned that, first, when I came out of India, I saw, England, and I actually come first to England, and then different countries. And compared to India and Nepal, that at that time I only went there, I thought that here it's like heaven, There's no problem, Everybody must be so extremely happy. And soon I found out that it's not exactly like that. It's not exactly like that. And when I found that, people here are not happy or not that satisfied, first it was shocking because, why can't they be so happy? And then I understood that how happy you are is nothing to do with how your life situation is. It's to do with yourself. That was, I think, a very important learning, because first time I came here, I met a person, actually a professor. He came and said, I'm going to make suicide. I said, why? Because the university, not from Oxford, the university last year kind of agreed to send me to America for a conference. And then they didn't send me. Now this year also, now they are not going to send me. So I'm really upset and unhappy and things like that. And I was shocked, I said, well, America must be a very nice place to go. But is it worth dying? Because after you die, then, you can't, why can't you just go like that? You don't have money? I said, I have lots of money. I said, then why you go? Oh, it's not that, it's something else. So, that totally shocked me. But, it's a little bit like that, it's how you are, how happy you are, how satisfied you are. It's totally up to your way of being, your way of seeing, how you perceive things, So this, then after, I don't see it like that. It's there's so many things like that. It's really a process of learning, and I'm very, very happy that I could travel different countries, and also, first when I came, I thought all West is same. We Tibetans call Inji. Everybody who has like a little bit white skin, and we call Inji. Inji means English. We don't know anything else, before. And then slowly I learned that, it's not all Inji. There are different countries and different languages and things like that. But then I thought, but they are mainly same, different kind of languages, and they're a little different, but the way they think and the same. But slowly I find that they are not same at all, So this details, slowly finding out, and yeah, it's a very interesting. That's why I'm 70 now, but still, traveling all over the places and meeting people. But this is what I enjoy. I enjoy because I see lots of people, I meet them, I learn from them, and things like that. So I must thank you for inviting me here and to be in this place. Thank you so much. And I also thank everybody who came here and spent their some hours with me here. Thank you very much.
And I think it falls to me, unfortunately, to draw this conversation to a close. I think we would really like to thank you, Rinpoche, for coming and spending this time with us, being in conversation with us, and sharing your experiences and teachings. So thank you so much. I think we probably like to be in conversation longer, but there's a drinks reception, and maybe we can continue talking over that. There's also wanted to let you know that as part of Ringu Tulku's organization, there's a small publishing group, and we publish some of his teachings in the form of small books. And we have kindly brought some here. If you would like to purchase any of them, you can buy them. It's mainly run by volunteers. And there's one book particularly that we published last year, which is actually a fundraising book for projects back in Ringu Tulku's homeland in Tibet, of Ringu. The book White Tara, Healing Light of Wisdom, is you can have a look at that book, see if it appeals to you, and just know that every penny from that, apart from the printing cost, is going to go to fund those projects of school and a monastic shedra and a health clinic there in places which has really transformed the lives of Ringu Tulku's original community there. And so Rinpoche has very kindly said that he'd be happy to sign some books if you want to bring your book up to offer that to him. So I want to thank you, Jonathan, again for inviting Ringu Tulku and for all the organization behind the scenes, and to Kabi and the team for organizing today. Thank you so much.